basic equations involving divergence and curl of electric field. And that is exactly what we did in electrostatics problem. That is divergence of E, or rather divergence of D, I will tell you in case of material medium. Divergence of D is called the displacement vector. Divergence of D equal to rho, and you can see in the screen, it is written here. Divergence of D equal to rho, this is basically Coulomb law, okay? Divergence of D equal to rho, this is basically Coulomb law. I am talking about the SI system, that is why the equation is written in this SI system. So this is basically Coulomb's law, divergence of D equal to rho. You are already familiar about what I mean by D, what I mean by rho. D is basically the displacement vector, and it corresponds some sort of material medium, and it is related with the polarization of the medium. Because you know, the application of the electromagnetic field or simply electric field causes the polarization in a material medium, and this polarization is suitably related with D. You know that I derived the relation D equal to epsilon 0 E plus P like these things already in the electrostatic problem. So this is basically one of the basic law of electrostatics, that is Coulomb law, divergence of D equal to rho. So this we derived. Actually, this is the derived form of the Coulomb law. Basically, this is Gauss's law, you know. Divergence of D equal to rho. The second one is very interesting. Curl of H equal to J. Here H and J, as H is related with the magnetic field, and J is the current density. Curl of H equal to J, this is one of the basic equation in magnetostatics. Okay, and this is basically known as Ampere's law. And the third one is curl of E plus del B del T equal to 0. This is very interesting. Del B del T, if this term was not there, in that case you have curl of E equal to 0. So if I drop this term, that is delta B delta T equal to 0, then this curl of E equal to 0 and divergence of D equal to, or in case of free space, divergence of E equal to rho by epsilon 0. These two equations gives you two basic equations involving electrostatics. One is divergence of field, the another one is curl of the vector field. Okay. In case of magnetostatics, similarly, we have two relations like this: curl of H equal to J and divergence of B equal to 0. Divergence of B equal to 0, it corresponds that we cannot find a magnetic monopole. In other words, the absence of magnetic monopole is guaranteed by this fourth equation, divergence of B equal to 0. Okay. And here, curl of H equal to J, this is very well-known Ampere's law. This equation was also derived in magnetostatics classes. Actually, I derived it in your course also. So basically, del B del T term, it appears because of the inclusion of Faraday's law. You know that Faraday's law, when I incorporated Faraday's law in my magnetostatics problem, in that case we find that the change of magnetic field, maybe it is spatial change or it may be temporal change. Here finally I have expressed in terms of temporal dependence of the magnetic field. Simple word, in some simple sense, if the magnetic field varies with time, you will get the electric field with spatial variation. In other words, when the magnetic field changes with time, so magnetic field actually is manifested by what? Magnetic field is manifested by some sort of magnetic flux. Therefore, if the magnetic flux changes, in that case, you will get some sort of electric field. That is exactly what we know as the Faraday's law. Then Faraday's law is written in this differential form: curl of E plus del B del T equal to 0. Of course, we have taken care in between some sort of correction due to Lagrange. After taking the correction of Lagrange, that is curl of E equal to minus del B del T basically, and this minus correction came through Lagrange. Therefore, Faraday's law with Lagrange correction gives you curl of E equal plus del B del T equal to 0. So these four equations basically corresponds the magnetostatics and electrostatics problem. Or in other words, entire electrostatics and magnetostatics were derived or were formulated with the help of these four equations. Just for curiosity, if you take the divergence of these both sides, say, if I take the divergence of this Ampere's law in both sides, what will happen? Divergence of both sides, if we take divergence of curls of vector field, simply gives you 0 because of the vector relation. On the other hand, right hand side will be divergence of J. So divergence of J equal to 0. Ampere's law, this is the basically this is one form of the Ampere's law. One can derive another form, that is divergence of J equal to 0. This is also the one form of the Ampere's law, but this is a more familiar form, curl of H equal to J, because you can derive this one from this usual form. So divergence of J equal to 0, what does it mean basically? It means that nothing, if we think of some sort of surface, and that surface is surrounding the current density J, then divergence of J equal to 0 means nothing is going across the surface. In other words, nothing is going out and nothing is coming in. And this is basically the formation of magnetostatics. Therefore, the entire four equations corresponds our electrostatics and magnetostatics. Everything was formulated in terms of these four equations. Okay. Unfortunately, when the curl of H equal to 0, this means that divergence of J equal to 0 rather. Sorry, curl of H equal to J means divergence of J equal to 0. This equation has some drawback. What is the drawback? You know that this is a very basic knowledge from current, that charge in motion gives rise to the current. Because if you say that some sort of electron is moving with respect to time, you can expect some sort of current. Since there is current, so you can assign some sort of current density as well. Therefore, the charge in motion, there is no mention of the charge in motion here. Okay, so in other words, this equation, actually this equation has to be modified, and this modification came through the contribution of Maxwell. Maxwell did a very interesting thing. What he did, actually, he started from the continuity relation of charge and current. What I mean by continuity relation? Continuity relation tells us divergence of J plus del rho del T equal to 0 means divergence, here it is written here, yes, continuity relation. Here is the relation, divergence of J plus del rho del T equal to 0 means, you know, the divergence of J del rho del T, that is, if current is grow, then just you have to take it here in the negative sign, divergence of J equal to minus del rho del T. In that case, if the charge density changes, then you have some sort of current loss, or vice versa. Del rho del T, if del rho del T is positive, in that case you will get negative current. So negative current is compensated by the loss of divergence of J. So this is basically the equation of continuity. So you have already encountered this type of equation of continuity somewhere else, even in your hydrodynamics classes, or maybe some sort of, if I say that your liquid flow like this, you have already encountered the equation of continuity. That is exactly what we are doing in our electrodynamics courses also. Actually, this is the equation of continuity was considered by Maxwell initially. What he did, actually he did like this, divergence of del rho del t, and he wrote this equation like this, divergence of J plus del rho del t, and del rho del t, he used the one of the equation of electrostatics. You know, the divergence of D equal to rho, this is the Coulomb's law. What I told, Coulomb's law or Gauss's law, whatever you want to say. Divergence of D equal to rho, he used it. Therefore, divergence of J plus del del T of divergence of D. You have to put it here, divergence of D. Okay, divergence of D here. Instead of rho, you just put it here, divergence of D. What will happen? You have divergence means you have a special derivative. Okay, special derivative of what? This special derivative of D vector. Okay, after taking the special derivative, you have to take time derivative, because you have to put rho equal to divergence of D. So you have two operations. One is temporal operation, that is with respect to time, you have derivative, and another operation is spatial operation, that is divergence operation. Spatial operation and temporal operation, they commute with each other. In other words, the operation of temporal derivative or the operation of derivative, spatial derivative, you can make it any one first. Okay, you can exchange, you can make temporal derivative first, or even you can make the temporal spatial derivative first. In other words, they commute with each other. Therefore, since they commute, therefore I can say that delta d delta t and divergence of delta d delta t, it will come out as, sorry, okay, del do del t, instead of del do del t, so I am writing as del del t of divergence of D. So divergence part is taken outside, then delta d delta t is inside. So divergence of delta d delta t. So you can take divergence of J plus delta d delta t equal to 0. This is very simple vector algebra. So divergence of J plus delta d delta t equal to 0. So you just compare your earlier Ampere's law. In that case, Ampere's law, delta d delta t was not there. So delta d delta t is taking care about the equation of continuity. Actually, this term is contributed by the equation of continuity. In other words, this equation is more perfect and it takes care of the equation of continuity also. Actually, in equation of continuity, you have time derivative as well. In other words, you are taking care of the time part or temporal part of the electric and magnetic field. So electric and magnetic field and their time dependence is now introduced through this term. Now divergence of some vector, so you can say this is a sum, at least you have two sum of two vectors is a vector, definitely. So this is a new current density basically. The current density is now contributed by two parts. The first part is usual, you're coming from the from your usual steady state phenomena, and the second one is coming from your equation of continuity part. So we can talk about a total current density, a J plus delta D delta T. So delta D delta T has the dimension of current density as well. So if I say this is the current density thing, that is delta D delta T, D actually has the dimension of charge density in some sense. Okay, because charge, if you differentiate the charge, you will get the current. Anyway, I'm not talking about the unit dimension, etc. Just for your brushing up, I am telling you that this is the dimension of current density. So what we got finally, actually this is the contribution of Maxwell. Basically, I am talking about divergence of J plus delta t equal to 0 means divergence of some function. Basically, this is equal to 0, and now the current density is now modified with the term. This is called the displacement current term. So delta t has the dimension of current, and this is called the displacement current. Therefore, Maxwell proposed that the Ampere's law should be modified. In other words, it should be modified in such a way that the equation of continuity is respected. In doing so, he actually replaced the vector J, I mean current density J, by the new current density J plus delta T. So finally, he got curl of H equal to J plus delta T. And this is exactly the contribution of Maxwell. Okay, this is the Maxwell contribution in four equations we already had in our electrostatics and magnetostatics problem. And this contribution is actually a remarkable contribution in physics. Actually, one of the remarkable contribution in the sense that this contribution basically finally gives rise to the concept of electromagnetic. And you know that electromagnetic field is the basis of modern civilization. So sometimes we call this term is responsible for the modern civilization, because unless you do not have electromagnetic field, everything will be lost. In other words, we cannot communicate or whatever we want. It is impossible without the concept of electromagnetic field. Okay. So finally, this is the Maxwell contribution, and this equation is basically the Ampere's law after Maxwell modification. Okay, Maxwell modification came through this term only. Okay, so finally we write the four equations once again. So this was the usual Gauss's law, or whatever we talked about the Coulomb's law. Divergence of D equal to rho. This is the usual Coulomb's law or Gauss's law, whatever you want to tell. This is divergence of B equal to 0, non-existence of magnetic monopole. And this is usual Faraday's law, it remains. However, the Ampere's law has got modified by this term, delta D, delta T. And this is exactly the contribution of Maxwell. Therefore, we combine four equations. We take these four equations together and we call it as Maxwell's equations. So these are the four Maxwell's equations. Actually, only contribution, although the contribution of Maxwell is only through the Ampere's law. So we have in some sense we have combined electric and magnetic field through some Maxwell's and Faraday's law. You know that here is the electric field and here is the magnetic field. Now it is related. And here is the magnetic field and electric field is here. So electric field and magnetic field once again related. However, in these two equations, you cannot have electric field and magnetic field combined, because this is electric field alone, this is magnetic field alone. So these two equations are responsible for the coupling of electric and magnetic field. And later on, we do not call electric and magnetic field separately, rather we call it electromagnetic field. In other words, electric field and magnetic field, which were taught you in your earlier classes separately, now Maxwell's equations combine them in terms of electromagnetic field. Okay, and electromagnetic field, I will talk more about that. Before that, just look at the Maxwell's equation. What Maxwell's equation tells us, first of all, Because I told you that these four equations, these four Maxwell's equations, are responsible for the modern civilization. So this is a tall claim basically. So we have to justify why these four equations are the backbone of present civilization. Certainly, you will learn it later on. Anyway, so let me look at the Maxwell's equation more carefully. What does it tell basically? Here you know that this is derivative, okay? And if you expand it, del dx del x or del dy del y, ityadi, like those things, okay? So this is basically a first order differential equation, you know. This is a first order differential equation. Definitely it is not one dimensional. This is three dimensional. So this is three dimensional first order differential equation. And as well as, because rho is sitting here, since rho is sitting here, this first order differential equation is not a homogeneous one. This is basically inhomogeneous equation. However, this equation is a first order three dimensional homogeneous equation. Okay. On the other hand, this is also a differential equation involving space and time. Space and time. So, in some sense, this is the four-dimensional differential equation. That because if you take space, three spatial coordinate and one time coordinate. So this is also a multivariable function derivative, basically. Sorry, this is also in other words. So these equations basically first order multi-dimensional differential equation involving electric and magnetic field. Okay. Fortunately, this equation is also homogeneous in nature. On the other hand, this equation is non-homogeneous because of the presence of J. If I put rho equal to 0 and J equal to 0, in other words, there is no source for charge and as well as for current, in that situation, all four Maxwell's equations will be homogeneous equation. Okay, and these four equations, so since we have formulated four equations, now it is our duty to solve these four equations. Okay, now how to solve the Maxwell's equation? In order to solve the Maxwell's equation, you know that we have four first order Maxwell's differential equations basically. First order multi-variable differential equation. Okay, unless you separate it in terms of single variable, you cannot solve it. So this is the basic knowledge from our differential equation things. Okay, so you have to decouple it first, because in the sense that if you talk about the electric field, you have to have electric field alone, because you know that if I want to solve for electric field, I have to have knowledge of magnetic field. Unless I have the knowledge of magnetic field, I cannot go for the solution of electric field. Similarly, here, if I do not have the knowledge of electric field, in other words D, and in that case we cannot solve the magnetic field H. So these are basically coupled differential equation. Coupled differential equation involving the electric and magnetic field. You know that electric and magnetic field, these are measurable quantity. Okay, so you can measure the electric field and magnetic field and the corresponding force, etc. Okay, but remember that we do not calculate the electric field and magnetic field directly. Rather, we calculate the potential initially, and after knowing the potential, we calculate the field. This is the knowledge you have already got in your electrostatics and magnetostatics courses. Because you know that if I know the scalar potential phi, in principle I can calculate the electric field E, because E equal to minus gradient of phi. Once the electric field is calculated, you can calculate the force, because force is nothing but charge multiplied by the electric field gives you the force. So electric field and magnetic field you have to find out definitely, but normally we do not calculate, or we do not go for the electric and magnetic field directly. Rather, we formulate the problem in such a way that the potential is solved initially, and the two potential I have already introduced in your electrostatics and magnetostatics courses, and those potentials were scalar potentials and vector potentials. Okay, let me go for the solution of the Maxwell's equation. Let us see in what way the potential formulation can help us in getting the solution of the Maxwell's differential equation, or Maxwell's equation simply. Okay, so these are the four Maxwell's equation. So our purpose is to solve them. Okay, in other words, we have to find out H, E, B, D, etc. So we have two fundamental things. One is B and sorry H, and another is E. If I am able to find E, in that case we can find D. If I am able to find H, in that case we can find V. So I have to calculate E and H.
Sir, H আর B এর মধ্যে কোনটা বেশি ফান্ডামেন্টাল?
কোনটা?
H আর B এর
মধ্যে ফান্ডামেন্টাল। Hটা ফান্ডামেন্টাল। আচ্ছা, সুতরাং Hটাকে আমরা ডিফাইন করি, তারপরে Bটাকে পড়া হয়। কেমন? সুতরাং these four equations we have to solve first. So in order to go for the solution, let us have some knowledge. That is, say, let me start with the these two equations. These are the homogeneous equation. Okay, so we have four equations altogether. Okay, altogether we have four equations. So we start with two homogeneous equations: divergence of B equal to 0 and curl of E plus del B del T equal to 0. Okay, since divergence of B equal to 0, okay, divergence of B equal to 0, so this B equal to is how much? B equal to is equal to curl of A. Okay, B equal to curl of A, because divergence of B equal to 0 means you can write B as some curl of vector function. This is already done in your magnetostatics courses. Divergence of B equal to curl of A. Okay, this is very simple. I have already divergence of B equal to 0 from your vector calculus, or rather vector algebra. You have B equal to curl of A. Now once I got B equal to curl of A, then I use one more homogeneous equation here: curl of E plus del del T, and B equal to curl of A. Just you put it here, curl of A. Curl is the spatial operation and del del T is the temporal operation. So once again, spatial and temporal operation can be commuted. In other words, instead of taking the curl first, we can take the time derivative first, then curl. Therefore, I can write it as that curl of del A del T. Okay. B, instead of B, you write it is here curl of A, and curl, take it outside like this, then curl of del A del T, and then you take the curl operation outside, and inside you put the vector E plus del A del T. That is exactly what is written here. Curl of E plus del A del T equal to 0. Since curl of E plus del A del T equal to 0, now you just apply your knowledge of electrostatics. But in electrostatics, this del A del T term was not there. Del A del T term is an additional term. And del A del T, basically, it has the dimension of electric field in some sense. So electric field has got modified because of the time-dependent vector potential. So vector potential, that is the temporal differentiation or temporal dependence of vector potential now has modified your previous electrostatic field in a new electrostatic field, basically. I mean, if I talk about the electrostatic field only, that is, electric field is now modified just by temporal evolution or temporal dependence of vector potential term. Basically, you know that vector potential is basically related with the magnetic field. In other words, electric field is now got modified by the change of some sort of magnetic field, time dependent magnetic field. In other words, time dependent magnetic field modulate the electric field. Anyway, so in mathematically, I do not have any problem. Curl of E plus del A del T equal to 0. Therefore, I can say that this the entire vector can be written as some gradient of scalar function, because you know that curl of some gradient of scalar function gives rise to 0. Therefore, there is no harm if we write E plus del A del T, E plus del A del T equal to 0, E plus del A del T equal to minus gradient of phi, where phi being the scalar potential. Okay. So you just recall your electrostatic problem. If del A del T term is not there, you will get back your electrostatics equal to minus gradient of phi. Only thing is that electric field has now modified, has got modified because of this term. So anyway, so this is the mathematical expression. So E equal to is how much? E equal to now minus gradient of phi minus del A del T. So E has one more term involving the time derivative of vector potential. So here I have written as this. Yeah, here is E equal to minus gradient of phi minus del A del T. So what we learn actually from my Maxwell's equation? So from Maxwell's equation, I have four Maxwell's equations. I have started with two Maxwell's equations, two of them, two homogeneous Maxwell's equations I have started. The two homogeneous equations finally gives me, one is as B equal to curl of A, and the other one is E equal to minus gradient of phi minus del A del T. In other words, if I know the vector potential A and if I know the scalar potential phi, okay, if I just you listen to me, if I know the vector potential A and if I know the scalar potential phi, I can calculate electric field E. And similarly, just by knowing the vector potential, I can calculate B. In other words, my electromagnetic field problem is solved. In some sense, it is solved, but there is some sort of some problem also there. How to solve it? Basically, you have to solve. You have to get back your vector potential and scalar potential. Now, your problem is to find the vector potential and scalar potential. If you are able to find the vector potential and scalar potential, then you can calculate electric field by this relation and magnetic field by B equal to my curl of A also. And many things, D equal to you can calculate and etc. Therefore, you have to calculate vector potential A as well as scalar potential phi. So how to solve the vector potential and scalar potential? In order to solve these two things, we have to rely on two inhomogeneous equations of Maxwell's, because you know that I have already used two homogeneous equations. You know that two homogeneous equations I have already used. These are the two homogeneous equations I have already used. I have two inhomogeneous equations as well. So I have to use these two inhomogeneous equations as well in order to have some knowledge about the vector potential and scalar potential. In doing so, we have to use first. Just it is for our convenience. It is not that we have to use like this, because I am talking about what? I am talking about the free space. Free space in that sense that you do not have any material medium. In other words, this equation will get modified. Divergence of D will get modified. In that case, you have to write it as divergence of E equal to rho by epsilon 0. Okay, rho by epsilon 0 is just for free space thing. And here, curl of H B equal to mu 0 H, like those things you have to replace, and D you have to replace as epsilon 0 E. Could you follow me? I'm telling you once again. So these are four Maxwell's equation, and these four Maxwell's equation are involving the material medium, because material property of the material medium is incorporated in D vector and H vector. Okay, so D and H vector, or B, sorry, H vector, D and H vector. So D and H vector, these are the two vectors where the material medium is there. Anyway, so I'm talking about the free space. So equation will get modified like this: divergence of E equal to rho by epsilon 0, and so on. This equation here you have to write it as epsilon 0 del E del T, and curl of in that case curl of B by mu 0. Here I'm talking about mu 0, epsilon 0. These are constant. Okay. Mu 0 is the magnetic permeability of the free space. Epsilon 0 is the dielectric constant of free space. You know the notations already. You are a little bit familiar with these notations. Okay. Now I am coming to these two inhomogeneous Maxwell's equation. So in that case, in two inhomogeneous Maxwell's equation, okay, here is the summary: B equal to curl of A, E equal to minus gradient of phi del A del T. Okay, now I am coming to the inhomogeneous part of the Maxwell's equation. Okay, okay. So let me have some algebra here. I do not go to want to elaborate where it is here. Okay. Divergence of D. Okay, so divergence of D. So divergence of E equal to rho by epsilon 0. This is one of the equations. Just to follow me. Divergence of E equal to rho by epsilon 0 for free space. So this equation, in that case, you have to replace E is equal to minus gradient of phi minus del A del T. Okay, could you follow me? Divergence of E equal to rho by epsilon 0. Okay, let me go there. The divergence of E, instead of E, you have to put this one. Okay, divergence of E. What does it mean? Divergence of E. If you take divergence of E, what does it mean? Minus del square phi minus divergence of this vector means del T. You take it outside, del T of divergence of E. Could you follow me? My divergence of E means minus del square phi minus del T divergence of E. That's all. So divergence of E, now I'm coming. Divergence of E is equal to minus del square phi minus del T of divergence of E is equal to rho by epsilon 0 simply. Okay. So if you rearrange this equation, that is del square phi plus del T of divergence of A is equal to minus rho by epsilon 0. So this is one of the inhomogeneous equation, gives rise to this equation, del square phi equal to this. So perhaps you have followed that instead of field, I have written the Maxwell's equation in terms of scalar and vector potential. So scalar and vector potentials are more fundamental for me. Okay, because it is convenient as well. Because you know that within few minutes you will find that vector potential and scalar potential is very fundamental as well as very important. Okay. Now the second equation. Second equation means second inhomogeneous equation. In that case, this is the second inhomogeneous equation. Here curl of H means curl of B, I shall write it as So mu 0 will be in downward. So you have to put it here as mu 0 j. And here mu 0, and you take it epsilon 0 outside. So mu 0 epsilon 0 del E del T. Could you follow me? Here means curl of B equal to mu 0 j plus mu 0 epsilon 0 del E del T. This is the one of the Maxwell equation for free space. So I'm repeating, curl of B equal to mu 0 j plus mu 0 epsilon 0 del E del T. So this is the equation. Now let me check what is happening with this equation. Just here I have written just curl of B equal to mu, here is a equal sign extra, don't just forget it. Curl of B equal to mu 0 j plus mu 0 epsilon 0 del E del T, what I told you right now. So curl of B equal to this. Now we know B equal to curl of A again. So you put it here, curl of A. So the curl of A equal to mu 0 j minus mu 0 epsilon 0. Instead of E, I have put it as E equal to minus gradient of phi minus del A del T. Could you follow me? Instead of E, I will write it as minus gradient of phi minus del A del T. So here, instead of E, here, instead of E, you just put as minus you take it outside exactly. Minus you have taken outside. Therefore, inside it will be as gradient of phi plus del A del T. Instead of E, I have written it as get phi plus del del T, and negative sign is sitting here. So this equation is rewritten in this way. I mean, the field is now replaced by corresponding potential formulation. So here is the potential, here is the vector potential like this. So I have got very nice things involving the potential alone. Okay, it is scalar and vector potential, of course. And since I know the vector algebra, therefore it is not it is easy to expand this curled relation. So curl of A, if you expand it, in that case you will get it minus del square A plus gradient of divergence of A. So after expansion, this I will get it back. Okay, and here I have changed this side. That is mu 0 epsilon 0. You know that it is 1 by c square. C being the velocity of light. Okay, so 1 by c square, or velocity of the electromagnetic field here, more precisely. Mu 0 epsilon 0 is 1 by c square, and here you will know that del del T of gradient of phi. Once again, my justification is that gradient is the spatial derivative and del del T is the temporal derivative. You can interchange. Therefore, gradient is taken outside del phi del T. Here, gradient of del phi del T. And here, this equation has got del square A del T square. So you are enough intelligent to get this relation. Oh, I have missed equal sign here. Maybe some equal sign could be here. One equal to sign here. It will be here perhaps because of my typing. It has gone there. Okay, you have to put it here equal to. Okay, equal to mu 0 j. So mu 0 is sitting here, but I have changed the side here. And just by taking this one is as c square and taking some sort of algebra, I am end up with this equation. Now what I got actually I got just multiplying by minus sign. So minus sign gone, del square A. This is minus 1 by c square del square A del T square, this term. And here it will be minus sign I am taking outside. Gradient of divergence of A taken inside, and gradient of del phi del T, it was minus sign there, therefore it will give the plus sign. 1 by c del phi del T equal to minus mu 0 by j. So I have two equations instead of four Maxwell's equation. I have got two basic equations involving vector potential and scalar potential. You know that I have already one equation here from one of the inhomogeneous equation, and the another homogeneous equation, inhomogeneous equation, gives rise to this. And two homogeneous equation gives you the introduction of vector potential and scalar potential. So four Maxwell's equations finally reduces to two differential equation involving the vector potential and scalar potential. Okay, so now I have two equations. One is sitting here, the another is sitting here. You have to put it here as equal to. Okay, so I have two equations, and now my task is to find out the solution of these two differential equations. You know that we started with the first order differential equation. Now we end up with the second order differential equation. You know that this is second order differential equation. Okay, so we end up with two second order differential equation, and unfortunately both the differential equation are inhomogeneous. These two differential equations are inhomogeneous. So this is very difficult to solve. Anyway, so this is the form. Okay. So I just want to arrange this equation. So del square phi plus del t of divergence of A equal to minus rho by epsilon 0. Here it is, del square phi plus del t divergence of A equal to minus rho by epsilon 0. Okay. Now another equation is here, del square A minus 1 by c square del square del t square this equal to minus mu 0 j. Okay, this is del square A minus 1 by c square, this is equal to minus mu 0 j. So we have two differential equations. Okay, unfortunately these two differential equations, I have to have the solution of potential, scalar potential and vector potential. It is not possible with these two differential equations. You know that A is here sitting here, phi is sitting here A is sitting here, phi is sitting here. In other words, they are coupled to each other. So unless I decouple the differential equation, unless I just repeat again, unless I decouple the differential equation, okay, unless I decouple the differential equation, I am unable to solve these two differential equations. So yes, my problem is that I have to find out the vector potential as well as the scalar potential. Unfortunately, I cannot solve these two differential equations as it stands. Okay, so I have to have some trick. What trick I can use? In that case, we have to use some trick because that trick is given by the vector algebra. You know that I just you recall your genesis of vector potential. So vector potential was introduced from curl of B equal to 0. So divergence of B equal to 0 here. Okay, divergence of B equal to 0, so B equal to curl of A. In this way, vector potential you have introduced. Suppose if I add some sort of bit of scalar function with vector potential A, just you where is it? Oh, vector potential. If you some sort of gradient of scalar function, okay, because if you suppose A plus some sort of gradient of scalar function, the B field remains unchanged. Because finally your observation will be on field. It is not the vector potential you are observing. You are observing the field. Therefore, if you change the vector potential A with A plus some gradient of scalar function, the field remains invariant. Okay, so B field remains invariant if I add some gradient of scalar function with vector potential A. So that is exactly what we do in the next algebra. Okay, here it is. Now just you know that we have changed the vector potential A goes to a new vector potential A prime is equal to A plus gradient of lambda. In that case, vector potential B remains unchanged. But you will tell that what about the electric field? So in that case, electric field, what is electric field? Electric field is also related with the vector potential. So you have to be careful. You have to be careful. While you are changing the vector potential, so electric field will get changed. Okay. In that case, electric field, what is the definition of electric field? Here is the electric field definition. E equal to minus gradient of phi minus del A del T. Okay. Since A has got changed, A equal to A plus gradient of lambda. Okay. So you have an extra term like gradient of delta lambda. If you take gradient function in front, could you follow me? If you take gradient function in front, so you will get minus gradient of delta lambda delta d. Okay, you have some extra term. So you have to adjust that vector scalar potential in such a way that the extra term is killed. Could you follow me? So since I have changed the vector potential A, so you have to make the suitable arrangement of scalar potential in such a way that the change of vector potential will be killed such that electric field remains unchanged. That is done just by changing phi equal to phi minus delta lambda delta t. Just this is very simple addition subtraction thing. Okay, so now the previous phi should be changed into phi prime equal to phi minus delta lambda delta t. Therefore, what we got? We got that if I make a suitable change of vector potential A equal to A plus gradient of lambda and phi equal to phi minus delta lambda delta t, in these changes, the field, electric field and magnetic field remains invariant. Okay, so this field remains invariant, and this type of transformation of the vector potential and the scalar potential, because you are making some sort of change in the vector potential, some sort of change in the scalar potential. This type of change or say some sort of transformation is called the gauge transformation. Okay, but in what way the gauge transformation help us? You know that I have not talked about anything about lambda. I told you that lambda is only a scalar function. Okay, lambda is only a scalar function. That is all I need in order to get the curl of A equal to 0. Sorry, curl of B equal to 0. Okay, so lambda, I have not specified any condition on lambda. In other words, lambda, you have free choice. Lambda, you can have any choice. Okay, lambda, you can have any choice. So lambda is chosen in such a way. Just I'm stressing this point. Lambda is chosen in such a way that that divergence of A plus 1 by c square del phi del t equal to 0. In other words, you just put it as 0 to get the suitable lambda, because lambda is your free choice. So divergence of A plus 1 by c square del phi del t equal to 0, and this type of condition or the condition you are imposing, that we are choosing lambda in such a way, okay, in such a way that the vector potential A and phi such that divergence of A plus 1 by c square del phi del t equal to 0. And this choice is called the Lorentz condition. Okay? This is the basically known as Lorentz condition. So under this Lorentz condition, so if you put it here 0, it is a remarkable achievement. What we achieved? Actually, we achieved that this is a differential equation involving A only in the right hand side, left hand side, and right hand side is a source term. So this is a differential equation involving the vector potential alone. So you can get rid of the scalar potential from this equation. Okay, and what about this term? This term actually divergence of A means one just from the Coulomb's Lorentz condition, divergence of A equal to minus 1 by c square del phi del t. If you put it here, so minus 1 by c square del t of del phi del t means del square phi del t square. So I have got del square phi minus 1 by c square del square phi del t square is equal to minus rho by epsilon 0. So this is the equation involving the scalar potential. This is the equation you have got the vector potential. In other words, the coupled differential equation is now decoupled in the sense that we have a differential equation involving the scalar potential alone and a differential equation involving the vector potential alone. Since we have differential equation, now we can go for the solution. Now one can say that what is happening with the now let us come to the Lorentz gauge condition again. So just you look at the Lorentz condition once again. So I have Lorentz condition this divergence of A plus 1 by c square del phi del t, and I told you that lambda is a free choice. Okay, lambda, this is the lambda is a scalar function. This is a free choice. So let me have some idea about the choice. How can I go for that? Because you know that once you are making a change of vector potential A, so in that case, what will happen for the Lorentz condition? Let us check. So this is the vector potential. This is the transformation of vector potential from your earlier coordinate A to new coordinate A prime. A prime is equal to such that A prime equal to A plus gradient of lambda, phi equal to phi goes to phi prime, new coordinate is equal to phi minus delta lambda delta t. So your in the new coordinate it is A prime and phi prime. In your earlier coordinate it was A and phi. So what about the Lorentz condition in new coordinate? In new coordinate you have divergence of A prime plus 1 by c square del phi prime del t. This is the definition of the Lorentz condition in your new coordinate. So you put it A prime in your earlier coordinate, A plus gradient of lambda. So therefore it will give you divergence of A. This is equal to Lorentz condition. Suppose if I demand that Lorentz condition is obeyed, okay, because Lorentz condition is obeyed. If I demand in the new coordinate system, because you know that coordinate transformation does not make a new physics. So Lorentz condition should hold in new coordinate as well. Divergence of A prime plus 1 by c square del phi prime del t equal to 0. If I demand it, so in that case it will be divergence of A, and A prime, instead of A prime I have written A prime plus gradient of lambda. So gradient of lambda will give you del square lambda. Here this term is 1 by c square del t of phi prime. This is phi minus delta lambda delta t. Therefore 1 by c square del phi del t term is here, and minus 1 by c square del square lambda del t square. So if you compare in two coordinates, I have these extra term. These are the extra term in new coordinate, in earlier coordinate. Just if you make some sort of gauge transformation, in that case, Lorentz condition is now changed in this way. However, in order to make the Lorentz condition invariant under gauge transformation, we can make lambda in such a way that is lambda was my free choice. I once again repeat, lambda was my free choice. Now I am imposing the choice. What choice it is? That lambda will be such that del square lambda minus 1 by c square del square lambda delta t square equal to 0. Sorry, where is this term, that is del square lambda minus 1 by c square del square lambda delta t square, if I make it 0, that is I am imposing the condition, and so lambda is now restricted. So lambda is such that they will satisfy del square lambda minus 1 by c square del square lambda del t square equal to 0. In other words, this imposition gives you one thing clear, that under coordinate transformation, Lorentz condition remains invariant. Okay. In other words, the Lorentz condition, that is Lorentz condition, this Lorentz condition, or later on we call it as Lorentz gauge condition. Lorentz gauge is actually invariant in some sense, that is, it fits in the special theory of relativity automatically. Why? Because it is independent of coordinate system. You know, this is the basic requirement of your special theory of relativity, that the basic physics is invariant under coordinate transformation. Here also, this transformation is invariant under coordinate transformation. Therefore, this fits within the special theory of relativity. And once again, one thing is very nicely clear, that under Lorentz condition, we have already got two differential equation decoupled. These are the two decoupled differential equation. One is involving the scalar potential. The another one is involving scalar vector potential. If you look at these two equations, basically that here you can see that phi a, it looks similar. These two equations look similar. Okay. In fact, we are treating a and phi in same footing. Why I'm calling about this? Because you know del square it is what? It is spatial coordinate. On the other hand, 1 by c square del t square, this is time coordinate. In other words, this is basically, you are talking about some sort of fourth-dimensional coordinate system. In fourth-dimensional coordinate system, you can generalize your potential. Three component will come from your vector potential part. The other part will come from your scalar potential. Of course, there is some sort of algebra in between. I'm just telling you by looking at this equation. And certainly, you can demand that these equations will automatically fit in the special theory of relativity, because these are four coordinate system is appearing here. Okay, is it clear? So this is this Lorentz condition, the Lorentz condition and their consequences. What consequences? I have got two differential equations here. These are the consequence of Lorentz transformation, Lorentz gauge condition. Therefore, these are automatically fit. These automatically fit in the special theory of relativity. Okay, so these are the two basic equations we have got involving the scalar potential as well as vector potential under Lorentz gauge condition. Okay, now we just want to use one more gauge condition that is very important for us, at least for the development of field quantization. And this thing I just want to tell you. Here it is. I have told you already. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Now I just want to use one more gauge condition. That is divergence of A equal to 0. You know that I have already used one gauge condition, that is तीन का तो अरे बाबा এই মাউস আছে কি দেখো তো একটু মাউস থাকলে আমার বোধহয় সুবিধা হয় ফোনটা একটু দাও তো খুলে জাস্ট 1 মিনিট হোল্ড করো না ওই তো মাউসটা বাইরে রয়েছে হ্যাঁ আর ওটা এটা দাও সেই টাচ প্যাডটা না গোলমাল রেসপন্ড করছে না ঠিক আছে ওকে সরি সো পেছনে না কেন ফাংশন হচ্ছে না কেন আচ্ছা আচ্ছা কোনো বোধহয় ইয়ে হয় আচ্ছা এটা হাইড করলে কেমন হয় নাকি হাইড করলে চলে যাবে না তো ও আচ্ছা প্রিভিয়াস আচ্ছা পিরিয়ড তো প্রিভিয়াস হয়ে যায় নাকি আচ্ছা ঠিক আছে okay so these are two basic equations first so I have already used the Lorentz gauge condition and using Lorentz gauge condition we have got these two equations now just I want to use the Coulomb gauge condition what is Coulomb gauge condition that is divergence of A equal to 0 if I put divergence of A equal to 0 say divergence of A equal to 0 means this term will go therefore I will left with del square phi equal to minus rho by epsilon 0 okay on the other hand since divergence of A equal to 0 I have del square A minus 1 by c square del square A del t square minus gradient of phi 1 by c square del t of gradient of phi equal to minus mu 0 j. Is it clear? So if I want to use the Coulomb gauge condition, what is Coulomb gauge condition? Coulomb gauge condition gives us divergence of A equal to 0. That is divergence of A equal to 0. So let me go here. Where is it? Here is the Coulomb gauge condition. Here is the Coulomb gauge condition, divergence of A equal to 0. I just told you that what will happen. One equation will be del square phi equal to minus rho by epsilon 0. And the another equation will be del square A minus 1 by c square del square A del t square minus mu 0 A plus 1 by c square gradient of del phi del t. Okay. So we got two interesting equations under Lorentz condition. However, under Coulomb gauge condition, we are left with one equation is here, the another equation is here. It appears that vector potential is involving the scalar potential. So you may not believe that this is a equation, this is a decoupled equation. You may not believe, but you have to do some algebra to believe that this is basically it's a decoupled differential equation. I'm not going through the detail first. Anyway, let me come to the first this equation. Del square phi equal to minus rho by epsilon 0. This equation is very simple. It looks like a Poisson equation, and the solution is straightforward. The solution is phi as a function of xt equal to this. However, just you recall in your Poisson equation of electrostatics, in that case, phi was a function of position alone. However, here, phi is not a function of position alone. It's a function of position as well as time. Therefore, phi is a function of x and t is the solution. 1 by 4 pi epsilon 0, rho as a function of x prime t like this, dq x prime. But here, you cannot have explicit dependence of time t. In other words, you do not have time dependence here, any explicit time dependence. So how we interpret this potential? the scalar potential. How the scalar potential is interpreted? Because you do not have any time dependence explicitly. How can you tell that what will be the functional dependence of time? Rather, we tell you we call it this potential as the instantaneous Coulomb potential because this is Coulomb potential. But this is valid for all time, everywhere. This is the and this since it is related to the Coulomb potential. Okay, this is instantaneous Coulomb potential, and it is related to the Coulomb potential, and for this reason, this gauge condition is called Coulomb gauge because it gives you the solution which is called instantaneous Coulomb potential. Okay, so you have got the solution, instantaneous solution. So phi as a function of xt, this is the solution of the scalar potential. Now, what is happening for the vector potential? Vector potential, you know that here gradient of del phi del t, you have to have some algebra. Before you do that, J is the vector potential. You know that vector potential, sorry, this is called, what is current density, okay? J is the current density. This is a vector quantity after all. Vector potential quantity, so you can, in principle, you can resolve vector along in case of a plane vector containing in a plane. Of course, in three-dimensional case also, in case of a two-dimensional coordinate system, if I have a vector, say I have a vector A here like this. Now I can resolve this vector, one along horizontal component, the other one is perpendicular component. Because just using this one as a diagonal, you can construct a rectangle. These two sides of the rectangle, adjacent side, will give you the horizontal component as well as vertical component. Okay, so this is valid for any vector, So in case of three-dimensional vector also, in case of three-dimensional vector, I can say that any vector can be decomposed. One is along the longitudinal, along the line perpendicular to a surface. You know that you just imagine a surface. Say surface is containing xy plane. Okay, so z axis will be the perpendicular on xy plane. Okay, so along the z axis, I will call it as horizontal component or whatever it is. Call it as longitudinal component. Horizontal is not a good thing because you are talking about three-dimensional vector. So this is longitudinal component along z axis. So vertical component or the transverse component I will talk about. Transverse component will be in the xy plane. So in case of three-dimensional vector J, I can in principle I can decompose in two components. One is called longitudinal, the other is called transverse component. Transverse may have two components as well, but I am talking about transverse component which is within the xy plane, and longitudinal component is along z axis. So I have some advantage about this component. So okay, so J equal to JL plus JT. Now just going through some algebra, JL can be written like this. I'm leaving it as an exercise for you. Otherwise, I can do it for you. Otherwise, later. And finally, what I will get 1 by c square gradient of del phi del t is equal to mu 0 JL. Okay, this is mu 0 JL means that here. So you have to put it as mu 0 JL, and here you have put as J equal to JL plus JT. So mu 0 JL will go. Therefore, you are left with minus mu 0 JT in the right hand side. Okay, so here is the final equation: del square A minus 1 by c square del square A del t square minus b0 j t. Maybe you may be curious. What about the special theory of relativity? Does it fit in the special theory of relativity? Answer is no, because you know that I do not have any time component in my Coulomb gauge condition. Okay, and also it does not fit with the special theory of relativity. Okay, anyway, so I'm least bothered about the whether it fits with the special theory of relativity or not. But one thing is clear, that divergence of A equal to 0 is called the Coulomb gauge condition. Under Coulomb gauge condition, I can decouple the differential equation, differential equation involving the vector potential and scalar potential. The scalar potential gives you the instantaneous Coulomb potential solution, and vector potential, in order to get the vector potential, you have to solve this equation. Okay, so finally, so what is important is that Coulomb gauge is sometimes called as transverse gauge. Why? Because a transverse gauge, because it involves the transverse component of the field G. Okay. Current density transverse component only contribute to the A potential, vector potential A, and that is why it is called the transverse gauge also. So Coulomb gauge or transverse gauge, whatever you want, you can say. And one thing also clear, one more we can say that Coulomb gauge, transverse gauge, these are not all. Actually, we call it as also radiation gauge, because this Coulomb gauge is useful for the quantization of electromagnetic field or radiation field. How it help us, it will be clear to you within a week. Just for the time being, you just take it from me that Coulomb gauge is also called radiation gauge because it helps us to quantize the electromagnetic field. Okay. Uh, Now, in under Coulomb gauge, I have some advantage. What advantage I have? That in Coulomb gauge condition, one can easily find out that phi equal to 0, and therefore E equal to how much? E equal to, since phi equal to 0, E equal to minus gradient of phi. This term will not appear here. However, minus del A del T, and B equal to curl of A. This is very interesting, is it not? Because just by knowing the vector potential alone, you can calculate electric field and magnetic field as well, if you are habituated in the Coulomb gauge condition. So under Coulomb gauge condition, you have to find out the vector potential alone in order to get the electric field and magnetic field. Maybe you may not believe that phi equal to 0, how phi equal to 0 in the Coulomb gauge condition. Just let me show you how it is coming. Oh, here it is. Okay. You know that how to get rid of this term. Okay, just follow me. We have condition like that: B equal to curl of A, and E equal to minus gradient of phi del A del T. Okay. So under Coulomb gauge condition, we have divergence of A equal to 0 and del square phi equal to 0. Del square phi, you have already seen del square phi equal to 0 under Coulomb gauge condition. There is the del square phi equal to 0. Oh, without source, of course. Sorry, I forgot. Without source. Without source, del square phi equal to 0. Okay. Without source, del square phi equal to 0. So I have used this del square phi equal to 0 without source. Take it, okay. Divergence of A equal to 0 along with del square phi equal to 0 without source. Now you can use the green identity, just vector algebra, nothing else. You just use the grid identity, first identity. Phi del square phi minus gradient of phi whole square and then the dv is equal to phi del n ds. So this is the green first identity. Okay. Del square phi equal to 0. This is the Coulomb gauge condition you are getting. Del square phi equal to 0, you just put it here 0. Okay. Therefore, and also here phi and del phi del n. What is phi? Phi is the scalar potential. And what is del phi del n? This is the field basically, derivative of vector potential. Sorry, scalar potential. Now it is involving surface integral. Just you remember, if I make the surface to infinity, what will happen? I will go to 0 because r going to 0, as well as the electric field goes to 0, because electric field here derivative, it is 1 by r square, it is 1 by r, and ds is equal to r square. Therefore, when r goes to infinity, this will go to 0. Okay, just by divergence theorem. Okay, so right hand side goes to 0 and left hand side, what is that? Grad phi whole square dv equal to 0. So grad phi dv square dv equal to 0 means grad phi square dv 0 means grad phi grad phi square dv equal to 0 means grad phi whole square is a constant quantity. Okay, grad phi whole square is a constant quantity. Okay, so the constant means it does not depend on space, brother, isn't it? Because you are integrating over space. Anyway, grad phi is equal to constant. Just one thing, grad phi is constant everywhere in the space basically. However, grad phi should be 0 at infinity. Grad phi means electric field. Electric field vanishes at infinity. Therefore, grad phi is equal to 0 at infinity. Just I am claiming grad phi is constant as well as grad phi vanishes at infinity. What does it mean? It means that grad phi equal to 0 and grad phi equal to constant. Okay, so phi equal to constant. Okay, sorry. Sorry, I missed the logic. Just let me repeat again. So the right hand side is 0. Okay, right hand side is 0. This part has gone. So I have grad phi whole square dv equal to 0. So grad phi whole square dv means grad phi, basically grad phi square is equal to constant. And grad phi square constant means once again grad phi equal to 0. Grad phi equal to 0 because phi is potential basically. It vanishes at infinity. Just you follow the logic. Grad phi equal to constant everywhere. However, grad phi itself vanishes at infinity. So grad phi equal to 0 at infinity. So if you extend the logic, so grad phi equal to 0 everywhere then, because it is constant everywhere. It is 0 at infinity, so it is 0 everywhere. So grad phi equal to 0 everywhere. So phi equal to, then grad phi 0 means phi is constant everywhere. Again, phi vanishes at infinity, so phi equal to 0 everywhere. So this is the logic, and therefore phi equal to 0 everywhere under the Coulomb gauge condition. This is an added advantage for the Coulomb gauge condition, and this is extremely useful for quantization of the electromagnetic field. Okay. Okay, here, just you see that this is the Jackson book. The Coulomb transverse gauge is often used when no sources are present, because I have put the sources 0, you know that rho equal to 0, I have put it. Then phi equal to 0. And A satisfies the homogeneous wave equation, this E equal to A minus del del T equal to B equal to curl of A. So what you learn basically, you learn that under Coulomb gauge condition, I just want to calculate the vector potential alone. Just by calculating the vector potential A, I can, in principle, I can calculate E. E is equal to minus del A del T and B equal to curl of A. So B equal to curl of A. Okay, and this is the same thing. Now, once again, I have to find out the vector potential. That is the task I have. Okay, in order to get the vector potential A, I have to solve the differential equation, previous differential equation. So this is the differential equation I have to solve. I do not anything to skip it. So I have to solve this differential equation in order to get the vector potential. Okay, so this has to be solved as it stands now. However, the advantage is that it is no more a coupled differential equation. It's a bad differential equation. However, it is still manageable, and this will be very much easier if we put it as 0. I mean source free region. You know, could you follow me? If I put source equal to 0, because in Coulomb gauge there will be no source at all in our case. Okay, even J equal to 0 in that case. So under Coulomb gauge condition, source is not taken into consideration. In that case, it will be very simple. Del square A minus 1 by C square del square A del T square equal to 0. This is wave equation. The solution is very simple. Okay, but if you put source non-zero, then the solution is certainly a difficult thing to solve. আচ্ছা আচ্ছা, এবারে আমি একটু তোমাদের 1 মিনিট ব্রেক দিয়ে তোমাদের জিজ্ঞেস করি কি আদৌ বুঝতে পারছো কিনা, কারণ আমার মুশকিল হচ্ছে তোমাদের তো কাউকে দেখতে পাচ্ছি না। হ্যালো, কি সব চলে গেল নাকি? ব্যাপার বলো তো, কেটে গেল নাকি? নেই কেন? না আছে তো মোটামুটি। ও সবাই আছো তো? আচ্ছা ঠিক আছে। কোথায় যাচ্ছিল বাবা? আচ্ছা, একটু তোমাদের সাথে কথা বলি, বুঝতে পারছো কি? কারণ এগুলো তোমাদের হয়তো বিশ্ববিদ্যালয় পড়াবেন, আমি বলে দিয়েছি যে ম্যাক্সওয়েলস ইকুয়েশনটা পড়িয়ে দিতে। হ্যালো, এনিওয়ান? হ্যাঁ, শ্রেয়সী বলছে। আচ্ছা বলো শ্রেয়সী, নাকি কে বলছে? কে অন হলো? আচ্ছা, হ্যালো, কে বলছো? কে কোথায়? আমি দেখতে পাচ্ছি না কেন তার নামটা। ও আচ্ছা আচ্ছা আচ্ছা, হ্যাঁ বলো বলো বলো। নামগুলো তোমার দেখা যাচ্ছে না কেন? আচ্ছা, পাশে নিতে হবে, দাঁড়াও 1 মিনিট। আমি আসলে খুব অভ্যস্ত নই বলে এই জিনিসটা হচ্ছে আমার। আচ্ছা, ইন্দ্রনীল বলছো না? হ্যাঁ বলো, কি বলছো বলো। ঠিক, আচ্ছা আমি কি খুব ফাস্ট হয়ে যাচ্ছে বলাটা? হ্যাঁ সেই, কারণ আমি তো আমি ব্রেকটা দিলাম ওই জন্য। আর আসলে এগুলো তুমি হয়তো অন্য জায়গায় পড়ে থাকবে বা পড়বে, এই জন্য হয়তো আমি কিছুটা লিবার্টি আমার আছে যে একটু দু একটা স্টেপ আমি মিস করে যাচ্ছি। আমি মোটামুটি যা বলার উচিত বলে যাচ্ছি। এনিওয়ান, আর কিছু বলার আছে কারোর? হ্যালো,
না স্যার, ঠিক আছে, ঠিকই আছে।
ঠিক আছে। আর
হ্যাঁ স্যার।
বিশ্ববিদ্যালয় পড়াচ্ছে এগুলো নাকি, না পড়ানি এখনো?
না, উনি অন্য জিনিস পড়াচ্ছেন।
কি তবু?
উনি রিলেটিভিস্টিক ইলেকট্রোডাইনামিক্সে ঢুকে গেছেন আর কি। এগুলো
আরে আরে
কিছুটা,
বাহ,
হ্যাঁ,
একেবারে রিলেটিভিস্টিক।
না প্রথম দিকে কিছুটা পড়িয়েছিলেন ম্যাক্সওয়েল ইকুয়েশন,
হ্যাঁ,
কিন্তু এতটা ডিটেলসে পড়াননি।
না আমার তো লাগবে ডিটেলস, যার ফলে আমাকে ডিরাইভ করে নিতে হচ্ছে আবার। ঠিক আছে, আমি আমার মতো করে করে নিচ্ছি। আমার লোরেন্জ গেজ নিয়ে আমার একটুও মাথা ব্যথা নেই, তুমি বিশ্ববিদ্যালয় লোরেন্জ গেজ নিয়ে হয়তো মাথা ব্যথা আছে, কারণ উনি ডেরিভেটিভ পড়াচ্ছেন যেহেতু, তাই তো ওটি লরেন্জ গেজ পড়াচ্ছেন বেশি করে। আর আমি কুলাম গেজটা নিয়ে আপাতত বেশি সন্তুষ্ট। আচ্ছা, এনিওয়ে, আমি আচ্ছা আরেকটা ব্যাপার, বিশ্ববিদ্যালয় কি তোমাদের ম্যাক্সওয়েলস ইকুয়েশন সলভ করিয়েছেন? My God, তাহলে তোমাদের সলিউশনটা আমাকে করাতেই হবে, মানে উইথ সোর্স উইদাউট উইদাউট সোর্সটা তোমরা বিএসসি তে করে এসছো, এটা নিয়ে আমি ওরিড নই। কিন্তু উইথ সোর্স ওটা 2 পয়েন্ট গ্রিন ফাংশন দিয়ে সলভ করতে হয়, ওটা কি করানো হয়নি তো? আমি হয়তো আমরা এখন হয়তো আধ ঘন্টা 1 ঘন্টার মধ্যে আমি করে দিতে পারি, এটা ঠিক আছে। আমি আমার প্ল্যানেও ছিল আজকে করে দেবো, কিন্তু তোমরা যেহেতু আগে করোনি, সুতরাং আমাকে একটু কেয়ারফুলি করতে হবে। হুম, কিন্তু সোর্স ফ্রি হলে কোনো অসুবিধা হবে না। আচ্ছা যাই হোক, আমি কি করাবো সেটা আমার উপরে কিছুটা ছাড়তে হবে। আচ্ছা বেশ, তারপরে এনিওয়ে, তারপরে এই এরকম ভাবে এই স্পিডে তো ঠিক আছে নাকি, না আরো আরো ধীরে ধীরে বলতে হবে? স্পিডটা ঠিক আছে? এনিওয়ান?
স্যার ঠিক আছে।
অর্পিতা, আচ্ছা ঠিক আছে। আচ্ছা, সমশ্রী ঠিক আছে?
হ্যাঁ স্যার ঠিক আছে।
আচ্ছা,
স্যার বলছি দুপুরের ক্লাসগুলো মানে ক্লাস টাইমটাই যেমন 2:30 থেকে হচ্ছে, এগুলো কি কোনোভাবে সকালের দিকে অ্যারেঞ্জ করা যায়? মানে
শোনো,
উম,
আমাকে তুমি যখন বলতে ক্লাস নিতে রাজি আছি, এবার তোমরা
হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ
অ্যাডজাস্ট করো
ঠিক
তোমরা।
আছে স্যার,
আমি
ঠিক আছে।
তোমাকে বলে দিয়েছিলাম, হ্যাঁ ইন্দ্রনীলকে
হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ
বলেইছিলাম যে ইন্দ্রনীল
হ্যাঁ,
যদি আমাকে জানায়, কেমন, এটা
আচ্ছা
তোমাদের ব্যাপার। আর
ঠিক আছে
এটাতে
স্যার।
তোমাদের এই ফ্রিডমটা থাকবে, এবং তোমাদের
আচ্ছা
যদি মনে হয় অমুক দিনে স্যার ক্লাস করতে পারবো না বলে দেবে, তাতেও কিচ্ছু অসুবিধা নেই, কেমন?
না না ঠিক আছে, ঠিক আছে
না
স্যার,
না না
থ্যাংক
না
ইউ।
না, অবশ্যই হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ, যে তোমাদের যদি কোনোদিন মনে হয় যে আজকে ক্লাসটা না করলেই ভালো হতো, তাহলে বলে দেবে, কিচ্ছু অসুবিধা নেই। কারণ
ওকে স্যার।
আমিও তো এমনি কোনোদিন হয়তো ক্লাস করলাম না, সেই সম্ভাবনা খুব কম থাকে, তবুও আমি বলে দেবো যে আমি ওই দিনে ক্লাস নেব না, কেমন?
ওকে
আচ্ছা, তারপরে আমি এই যেটা হয়েছে দেখো, তোমরা যে ম্যাক্সওয়েলস ইকুয়েশন, আমি তো প্রায় সলিউশনের কাছাকাছি চলে এসেছি, সলিউশন করবো এবারে, মানে আমি একদম সলিউশনের গোড়াতে চলে এসেছি, সলিউশনটা করার কথা আমার এবারে। সেজন্য আমি জাস্ট এই কথাগুলো জেনে নিচ্ছি যে তোমরা সলিউশন করোনি, তার মানে উইথ সোর্স, মানে অ্যাডভান্সড এবং রিটার্ডেড গ্রিন ফাংশন করানো হয়নি, তাই তো?
না স্যার, হয়নি।
কোনো স্টেজেই হয়নি তো?
না স্যার।
কারেক্ট, হয়নি তো, কারণ এই দায়িত্বটা তো আমার উপরেই ছিল, আমি বুঝতে পারছি, মানে বিএ এমএসসি ওয়ানে, কিন্তু সেটা হয়নি। সুতরাং আমি সেটা পড়িয়ে নিই, জানো এটা বড় দরকারি জিনিস, কেমন? আর এইটা পড়িয়ে নেব। আচ্ছা, এর জন্য তোমাদের একটু খেসারত দিতে হবে, বুঝেছো? খেসারতটা এই, তোমাদের কিছু এক্সট্রা ক্লাস করতে হবে আনফরচুনেটলি। আমি খুব ধীরে সুস্থেই পড়াবো, কোনো অসুবিধা নেই, কোনো তাড়াহুড়ো নেই আমার, কিন্তু তোমাদের একটু এক্সট্রা ক্লাস না বেশি করলে আমি এগুলো পড়াতে পারবো না। এই ইলেকট্রোডাইনামিক্স এমন একটা সাবজেক্ট, যে সাবজেক্টটাকে যদি তুমি বুঝতে পারো, তাহলে তোমার ফিজিক্স সবটাই বোঝা হয়ে যাবে। কারণ এটা যত প্রচন্ড হার্ড ম্যাথমেটিক্স থাকে, অ্যাজ ওয়েল অ্যাজ ভেরি নাইস ফিজিক্স থাকে, এবং ইলেকট্রোডাইনামিক্স সাবজেক্টটাকে সেই জন্য রিয়েলাইজ করাটা বড্ড জরুরি, কেমন? সুতরাং আমি এর মধ্যে কোনো রকম ফাঁকি দেওয়ার চেষ্টা করব না, আমি চেষ্টা করবো যতটা পারি তোমাদের আপডেট করে দেওয়ার জন্য। যে মানে আমি একটা অপরাধ বোধে ভুগছি নিশ্চয়ই, কারণ আমার এটা পড়ানোর কথা ছিল এগুলো, কিন্তু হয়ে ওঠেনি, কেমন? কিন্তু আমি তোমাদের পড়িয়ে দেবো, তার জন্য কিন্তু তোমাদের এক্সট্রা ক্লাস করতে হবে, এছাড়া উপায় নেই। না হলে আমি আমার সাবজেক্টে ঢুকে যেতে পারতাম, কিন্তু সাবজেক্টে ঢুকে যাওয়ার চেয়ে আমার মনে হলো যে এগুলো না বললে তুমি সাবজেক্টের যে ফিলিং, সেই ফিলিংটাই তুমি পাবে না। অ্যাকচুয়ালি আমি অনেকটাই চলে এসেছি আমার সাবজেক্টে ঢোকার মতো করে। কেমন, আমি ম্যাক্সওয়েল সিকোয়েন্সের যেটুকু ইম্পর্টেন্ট পার্ট সেটুকু আমি প্রায় করে ফেলেছি। আর একটা পার্ট আছে নন লিনিয়ার পোলারাইজেশন ইত্যাদি, সেগুলোর জন্য আমার আরো কয়েকটা জিনিসপত্র বললেই আমি আমার সাবজেক্টে লিখতে পারি। কিন্তু তোমরা কি চাও আমি তোমাদের ম্যাক্সওয়েলস ইকুয়েশন সলিউশন করে দিই ইত্যাদি সবকিছু করে দিই? তাহলে কিন্তু আমাকে অ্যাটলিস্ট 3 করে 6 ঘন্টা আমার এক্সট্রা লাগবে। তার মানে তোমাদের প্রায় 1 সপ্তাহ এক্সট্রা ক্লাস করতে হবে, 1 সপ্তাহ 2 সপ্তাহ, ইন অ্যাপার্ট ফ্রম ইউর শিডিউল ক্লাসেস। তোমরা এগ্রি তো? তাহলে আমি সলিউশন করে দেবো। কেমন? আমার মনে হয় তোমরা এগ্রি করে যাবে আশা করি, নাকি? অর্পিতা কি বলছো? ঠিক আছে তো?
হ্যাঁ স্যার, সলিউশনটা করে দিলেই ভালো।
অভিনন্দা?
হ্যাঁ স্যার, করলেই ভালো হয়।
আচ্ছা, শ্রেয়সী তো তুমি তো বলেইছো, তো ঠিক আছে তো? আমি এক্সট্রা ক্লাস করবে তো?
হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ ঠিক আছে, অসুবিধা নেই।
শ্রেয়সী, তারপরে মনীষা, আচ্ছা মনীষা রয়েছে। মনীষা ঠিক আছে তো?
হ্যাঁ স্যার ঠিক আছে, এক্সট্রা ক্লাস করলে ভালো হয়।
আচ্ছা, ইন্দ্রনীল তাহলে এক্সট্রা ক্লাস করবো আমি, কেমন? আচ্ছা, এটা কেটা কি কুন্তল নাকি? এটা কুন্তল তো নাকি, আমি বুঝতে পারছি না।
হ্যাঁ স্যার।
হ্যাঁ দাঁড়াও, আমি স্ক্রিনে আর নিচে চলে গেছে আসলে কুন্তল। আচ্ছা কি, আর এটা কি, আর একটা কি রয়েছে, এটা কি নন্দিনী। নন্দিনী শুনতে পাচ্ছ তো?
হ্যাঁ স্যার।
এগ্রিড তো যে এক্সট্রা ক্লাস করবো?
হ্যাঁ।
আচ্ছা যাই হোক, এখন
হ্যাঁ স্যার, সমস্যা নেই।
হ্যাঁ, যার ফলে আমি এই রিস্কটা নিয়ে কিন্তু এখন আমি পড়িয়ে যাচ্ছি কোর্সটা। এই কোর্সে তোমাদের যেটা পড়াবো আমি আজ, মনে করো আমি এখন একটু ব্রেক নিচ্ছি, কারণ আমাকে তোমার অনেকক্ষণ ধরে বলছিলাম, আমার কাছে কিছুই নেই, একমাত্র স্ক্রিন থেকে দেখে দেখে বলা। এনিওয়ে, যেটা ব্যাপার হবে জানো, এইগুলো পড়াবার পরে আমি যখন আমার কোর্সে ঢুকবো, বুঝলে, কোর্সে ঢোকা মানে আমি প্রথমে যেটা তোমাদের পড়াবো যে ফিল্ড কোয়ান্টাইজেশন। ফিল্ড কোয়ান্টাইজেশন ফিল্ড থিওরি কিছুটা পার্ট আর কি। ফিল্ড কোয়ান্টাইজেশনটা করবার পরে আমি বেশ কিছু নতুন জিনিস তোমাদের পড়াবো, কেমন, যেগুলো তোমাদের মানে তোমরা এখনো পর্যন্ত এনকাউন্টার করোনি। এবং তারপরে আমার কিছুটা নতুন জিনিস পড়াবার পরে আমি জানি না আরো কয়েকটা জিনিসপত্র আছে, প্রতি বছরই আমি ভাবি যে আমি কোয়ান্টাম ইনফরমেশন থিওরি কিছুটা পড়াবো। ঠিক আছে, হয়তো প্রশ্ন দেওয়া যাবে না, কিন্তু কোয়ান্টাম ইনফরমেশন থিওরি এবং কোয়ান্টাম কম্পিউটার্স, কেমন, এই যে এখন যে রিসেন্ট ডেভেলপমেন্ট, কেমন, এই ডেভেলপমেন্ট কোথায় দাঁড়িয়েছি আমরা,